Bones of the Skull, the non-colored edition. So here we have a skull that has not been painted, and it's going to have the exact same bones. So I'm just going to go through and point them out to you on the non-painted. So it's a little harder to see the colors, or a little harder to see the edges of the bone. But what you want to look for is those suture lines. So here we have the frontal bone, again going on the top of the eyes to the top of the head. The parietal bones, you can see that suture that's separating the right and the left halves, as well as the suture that's dividing the frontal from the parietals. If we move around to the back, here we have the occipital bone, and you can see that suture line coming up here, separating the parietals from the occipital. Moving to the bottom, you can still see the rest of that occipital. It's going to go right around this hole, so it's going to go all the way up to right about here. Okay, so all of that is occipital. If we move to the side of the skull here, again, looking for that suture line. Okay, here is our temporal going down to this big lump, the ear, and all the way forward until we hit that sphenoid that's underneath right here. Coming across on this arch, up the zygomatic. So again, the cheekbone, that's going to be your zygomatic. And here you can see that suture line dividing the zygomatic from the maxilla. So maxilla is on the front. You've got these two parts of the maxilla. Then as we move up the maxilla onto the nose, we've got our two nasal bones, again looking for that suture line between the maxilla and the nasal. And moving inside the eye, I'm getting kind of tricky here. Right there we've got our lacrimal, and then right behind the lacrimal, inside there, we've got the ethmoid. Moving to inside the nose, you can see that vertical piece, I think a little easier on the non-painted here, or you can see that vertical piece, that is our vomer. Then as we move underneath the skull, we're going to go ahead and flip over here so we can see the roof of the mouth. The palatine is back here. This one's a little bit harder to see that suture line, but it's right along here. There's your suture line between the palatine and the maxilla. And then here we have our mandible. So that lower jaw, whole lower jaw is one mandible. And then the hyoid bone. That's that little one that sits at the throat. So it's just this little guy right here. So if we're looking at our skull here, that's going to hang out right about here in that throat. So if you think about kind of where the Adam's apple is, it's in that same general vicinity. It's not actually the Adam's apple, that soft tissue, but it wraps around the vocal cords and kind of hangs out back here below the roof of the mouth. So those are the skull bones. The next video we'll go over skull features, and then we'll have a video on dentition as well.